In a world where diplomacy can shift overnight, one man's words have the power to move markets and reshape international strategy. President Donald Trump is once again making waves in the ever-tense relationship between the United States and China. Just as the two economic superpowers prepare to return to the negotiating table, Trump has identified three top issues that he says are critical to America's national interest: rare earths, fentanyl, and soybeans. These aren't random topics. Each represents a unique battlefield in the ongoing economic war between Washington and Beijing. A war that could define the global balance of power for years to come. As a fragile trade truce nears its expiration date, Trump's renewed aggression has sparked concerns among investors, diplomats, and farmers alike. The question now is whether his hardline approach will force China's hand or push both nations back into a full-scale economic confrontation. Chapter 1. Trump's Air Force. One declaration. It was October 19th. Aboard Air Force One, returning from Florida, President Trump made his position clear to reporters. "I don't want them to play the rare earth game with us," he said, referring to China's dominance in the global rare earths market, a critical sector for advanced technologies, from fighter jets to smartphones. Just days earlier, Beijing had vowed to tighten export controls on rare earth minerals, a move seen by Washington as a direct attempt to weaponize its industrial strength. Trump's response was swift. He threatened a 100% tariff on all Chinese shipments of the materials, a threat that sent ripples through global markets. But Trump didn't stop there. He also demanded that China stop with the fentanyl, pointing to the ongoing opioid crisis in the U.S., a crisis he blames in part on China's failure to curb exports of the synthetic drug and its chemical precursors. Chapter 2. The Negotiating Table in Malaysia. The Treasury Department, led by Secretary Scott Bessent, confirmed that new talks between the two nations would take place later this week in Malaysia. These discussions follow a virtual meeting earlier this month between Bessent and China's Vice Premier, He Feng, which state media described as constructive. However, analysts warn that the goodwill may be short-lived. Trump's unpredictable tactics, from tariff threats to public ultimatums, have often disrupted delicate negotiations. The trade truce between the U.S. and China, painstakingly crafted over months, is set to expire on November 10th, and without an extension, tariffs could surge once again. Trump has already declared that the 100% import surtax will take effect on November 1st, unless China changes course. The stakes are enormous. Both economies are intertwined in a $700 billion annual trade relationship, and any breakdown could send shockwaves through global markets, raising prices, disrupting supply chains, and further polarizing two of the world's most powerful nations. Chapter 3. Rare Earths, the Hidden Power Game. To understand the gravity of Trump's concern, one must grasp the importance of rare earth elements. These 17 minerals are the backbone of modern technology, essential in everything from electric vehicles to missile systems and medical imaging equipment. China currently produces over 90% of the world's processed rare earths, giving it a near monopoly that has long worried American policymakers. When Beijing announced tighter export controls earlier this month, adding new elements, technologies, and refining methods to its restricted list, Washington saw it as an act of economic aggression. Trump's response? A promise to financially counter any such move. "For every element they have monopolized, we have two," he declared defiantly. It was a bold claim, and perhaps an exaggeration, but one that underscores Trump's belief that the U.S. must break its dependency on Chinese resources. Chapter 4. Fentanyl, a deadly dispute. The second issue Trump highlighted, fentanyl, hits much closer to home. The synthetic opioid has ravaged communities across the U.S., causing tens of thousands of deaths annually. Trump has repeatedly accused China of being the source of the crisis, claiming that Beijing fails to prevent illegal exports of fentanyl and its chemical ingredients. In response, China insists it has taken unprecedented steps to regulate these substances and that the U.S. must take responsibility for its own demand problem. Earlier this year, Trump imposed 20% tariffs on all Chinese goods, explicitly citing fentanyl as one of the reasons. Beijing countered by tightening controls on 2 chemicals used to produce the drug, but the American president dismissed those efforts as insufficient. "They're causing difficulty for our people, and we're not going to stand for it," Trump said. Chapter 5: Soybeans and the Heartland Vote. Perhaps no group has felt the pain of the U.S.-China trade war more acutely than American farmers. Soybeans, once one of the largest U.S. exports to China, have become a bargaining chip in the trade dispute. In 2023, China imported $12.6 billion worth of soybeans from the U.S., but this year that number has dropped to 0. Instead, Beijing turned to South American suppliers, particularly Brazil, to fill the gap. For many farmers in the American Midwest, the fallout has been devastating. Silos are overflowing, prices have plummeted, and financial stress is mounting. Trump's rural base, once solidly behind him, is growing restless. Farmers have been waiting for government aid to offset their losses, but that assistance remains stuck in limbo due to the ongoing government shutdown. "We're going to take care of our farmers," Trump insisted, but China needs to play fair. Chapter 6: Beijing's countermove. Beijing, for its part, has struck a measured tone. At a press conference on October 20th, Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman Guo Jiakun emphasized that confrontation serves no one's interest. "A trade war does not serve the interests of either party," he said. "Both sides should negotiate and resolve relevant issues on the basis of equality, respect, and mutual benefit." China has also tried to calm fears about its rare earth restrictions, assuring international partners that the measures are not meant to disrupt normal trade flows. During the IMF's annual meetings last week, Chinese officials privately told global counterparts that the export controls were introduced as a long-term stability mechanism, not a weapon. According to reports, they insisted the move was a response to U.S. provocations, including the expansion of sanctions to subsidiaries of blacklisted Chinese companies. In short, Beijing's message is simple: we're reacting, not attacking. Chapter 7: Strategy and Symbolism. Political analysts say Trump's focus on these 3 topics, rare earths, fentanyl, and soybeans, is no coincidence. Each resonates with powerful domestic constituencies. National security hawks worried about rare earth dependence. Families and law enforcement battling the fentanyl crisis. Farmers and rural voters feeling abandoned amid global competition. According to Sun Chung Hao, a fellow at Tsinghua University's Center for International Security and Strategy, Trump's strategy is to secure quick, visible victories that appeal to voters. By focusing on these tangible issues, Sun explained, Trump aims for demonstrable wins that can be easily communicated to the public, rather than the long, complex negotiations needed to change China's industrial model. Chapter 8: A high-stakes gamble. With talks set to resume and deadlines fast approaching, the situation remains volatile. Trump insists he still has a good relationship with President Xi Jinping, even suggesting the two may meet in South Korea later this month at the APEC summit. "I think we're going to be fine with China," Trump said, "but we have to have a fair deal." It's got to be fair, but behind the optimism lies uncertainty. Both nations have taken hardline stances. Public trust is low, and the trade truce clock is ticking. A single misstep could plunge the global economy into another round of tariffs, sanctions, and retaliatory measures. For now, all eyes are on Malaysia, where negotiators will attempt, once again, to pull 2 rival superpowers back from the brink. As the US and China spar over minerals, drugs, and crops, it's easy to forget what's really at stake: global stability. Trump's demands reflect real grievances: economic imbalances, security risks, and a fentanyl epidemic tearing through communities. But the aggressive tactics risk turning cooperation into confrontation. In the end, the question remains: Can Trump turn confrontation into cooperation? Or will his hardball tactics push the US and China into an even deeper divide? Only time and the next negotiation will tell.